Hello there, welcome to the channel, welcome back perhaps, and we're going to be sharing with you this evening something that we've been enjoying over the last couple of days. A little bit of inspiration struck, and we decided to dive in with a brief little project which hopefully will also not take too long to demonstrate. Because what we have got here, perhaps learning from our fun times with the Grand Canyon presets videos that we did, are some presets with the good old Strymon nightsky. And where this came from was spending some time watching a video that Mark Johnston, good old Secret Weapons, released over a year ago now on the poly pedal called Verbs, quite simply, which as well as doing some more traditional kinds of verbs, also models using impulse response technology some very interesting things. And while the pedal itself is not something that we have particular interest in, we do have a great deal of interest in using the like physical objects as a source for synthetically derived sounds. There's a specific name for that, which I forget right now. A particular kind of synthesis, and it's also something that's used in one of the what's it called? Wind synths that we've had our eyes on for a while, eyes and mind. But it does seem to be something that we enjoy as very much along the same lines of being able to produce this kind of thing with a wind synth, to actually develop some of these sounds ourselves. So we have been taking some of the sounds as demonstrated by Mark Johnston and making our own presets. The presets are all ready, and I will not be fooling around with them. I will be showing screenshots of the settings and mentioning what things that aren't visible in the photos have been set to what settings. So let's dive in. First of all, let's just have a quick think about our signal chain. We've got our contrabass clarinet samples, which we'll be demonstrating shortly, going through the float into the Behringer brassmaster fuzz. So basically we're working with our small pedal board setup that we've been having fun with, developing recently, used for our first live performance with the contrabass clarinet plus effects setup. And what we're going to do now is show you the first of those settings. This is our usual sample that we use for demonstrating reverbs, and it's simply the two highest C's on the contrabass clarinet, through of course the float and fuzz. I don't think I'm going to bother showing them without the fuzz. So here we go. That fuzz sounding as lovely as ever. And that's pretty much it. The other one that we have geared up is our what's it called? Two lowest C's on the instrument. That's how these sound. go. And one other thing we might be doing is the whole range of the instrument sample that we have. We'll probably be fading it in and out, and so that's this. There we go. Okay, let's dive in, and we will be mostly using the highest C's sample. Now, our first preset, which we've got teed up here, is inspired by the inching down oil tanks IR that was on the Polyverbs pedal. So you can probably see the settings that we've got there now. Basically, we introduced some pitch bend on top of a very long trail. We chose the diffuse algorithm, and that's at its longest point. And then there's the size pitch setting, which, yeah, we took a lot of care to get the kind of quality that we wanted. It's this big, spacious, almost motionless kind of reverb that we then have played around with using the morph setting. I should add that each of these presets that we've devised has its own morph setting, which we've also delighted in developing, and is kind of inspired by, first of all, what we thought would be interesting as a contrast to the main quality or qualities of the preset, but also what knobs were available to play with and use. So let's dive in, and here's our sample with the reverb. So, turning off the so you can hear that by turning off the modulation like we just did there, there's actually quite a bit of movement in that reverb, and it's something that we weren't really able to get rid of. I think it's partly perhaps something to do with the fuzz pedal, but if we return those back to where they were, where are you? There you are, and there you are. There we go, 3 o'clock for both, I think. With that pitch bend, we were able to kind of like even that out and get that size that we wanted. So that's that. Let's try it with our low notes, which is, I have to say, quite spectacular. believe that speaks for itself. Something as huge as we could muster. So now we're going to just drop in occasional tones from the full range of the contra. Yeah, that shimmering decay was one of the things we were hoping to capture there, and we're quite happy with what we got. I mean, it's still fading out there. So basically, we have two different morph functions for this one. The first one increases the pitch bend, which, and I think this is one of the reasons that this particular way of doing things is really appealing to us, is that it allows us to take this attempt at a very natural, an emulation of something very natural, and play with it in a way that is not natural. So basically what we did for the first presets morph function was we had the pitch bend. Let me see. I don't seem to have noted down what we actually changed the pitch bend to, but it's certainly not the end of the world then. And then the second preset, it's the same pitch bend, but it also has the shimmer doing a regenerative thing with a tone. So I will demonstrate those. If I remember correctly, I think that the speed doesn't change, but the depth goes up to like just past noon, perhaps. So let's have a listen to those morph functions. We'll take things back to our top two notes. It just goes on and on. The other thing about this, the other great thing about this inching down oil tanks thing on the Polyverbs pedal was the way that it so clearly sustained any of the notes played into it. Just some beautiful contrasts and quite clear contrasts between the notes that were played. Also worth noting that our morph speed is set at noon. So let's hear that other version of the morph that we've got going here. Yeah. So one of the really interesting things about that regenerative tone shimmer is that depending on which direction the pitch is being bent, it manifests differently. So if the pitch is bending down, then the regeneration can even be static. But if it's going up, yep, it's just very interesting. A very interesting effect where it's like it's not the same every time. And I think that you could hear at one point towards the end of that last tale that there was a point where it reached the top of its shape there, the wave shape, and started moving down. But yeah, two very interesting variations on what I'm very happy with. Is like a huge reverb there, huge. So moving on, the next one is especially good fun. It is the emulation for bubbles. There we go. The IR for bubbles in the Polyverbs pedal is just delicious. It's just so much fun. And we couldn't help but try and capture that for ourselves. So in terms of things that that can't be seen from the picture that is on your screen right now, pre-delay is at 10 o'clock, glimmer is maxed. When we get to the morph setting, it moves the depth up to just past 3, and the speed just past that, and length to 2, and morph speed at 10. So let's hear how that sounds. Yeah, again, one of the things I really like about this is that because the wave shape with the modulation is not apparent, there's some really lovely variations in the way that it reacts. Also, like, you know, one of the things that's fun about this is the fact that, yes, this source of the inspiration for this is a real world object, the polyverbs pedal captures it in an amazing way, but also we're not aiming for that perfectly. It's like taking inspiration. So like, you know, it's bubbles, but it's my idea of bubbles. And I really like this. This is the kind of thing I think would be very interesting with another reverb after it, which is also something that, of course, Mark Johnston brings up in the video. So now we're down to our two lowest Cs of the contrabass clarinet. Lovely. Such an interesting effect. So let's go to our full range. Lovely stereo effect on that as well. Now let's add in the morph. Very different from the effect itself. Yeah, I like this morph speed that we've got going there. Yeah, this is going to be great for some psychedelic kind of effects before or after some doomy stuff. But then we get back to this. Okay, so let's move on from bubbles, and next it's actually two variations on the same thing again, and this is the last thing that we're copying at the moment. This may become a series because this way of doing things is quite inspirational for us, and not to mention quite a bit of fun. So, oh, hold on. No. What have we got here? Yes, two more. Now, this is an attempt to capture the kind of effect that was generated by the impulse response from a spinning coin. So maybe you will hear what we were going for here. Let me just run down the details. Pre-delay is at 9. Filter Q, because we've got a low pass filter here, is at 1. Now the morph setting moves the filter to 3, and the dry volume goes down below 9. Morph speed is at 2 o'clock. Okay, so let's have a listen to this one, see what we think. Does it sound at all like a spinning coin? So you can see hopefully what I was going for there, and I quite like that. Like, the whole point is not to make this a perfect copy, but to take inspiration. But one of the points that I want to make out, and the reason that this has been set where it's at now, you can see that this is where the preset has it, is that we can increase the speed a little bit. So if we want to have our coin spin faster, then yeah, I think that what I would have ideally is some kind of thing where it would be envelope triggered, and the speed would start fast and get slower, like some kind of what's it called, low frequency oscillator LFO on the speed that was triggered by an envelope, but that's getting way more complicated. Hopefully you see what I'm going for there. Let's have a look at the other setting. This is the sample for the low C's on the contract. That hopefully gives you an idea. And now the full range sample faded in. There we go. I think that demonstrates pretty nicely. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the impulse responses on that Polyverbs pedal was like how close it made you feel to the object. So as a very texturally oriented person, it's really nice to get a feel for what it is to be right next to something that way, very visceral. So, on to the morph setting now. Almost like underwater. Now that brings us to our final setting for today in this series, at least, and that is one where basically the verb that we were using to get that like spinning coin kind of thing, we turned into a what do you call it, triangle wave instead of a downwards saw, and we used a different size pitch knob setting. Other variations I don't think are that many. The only differences are visible ones, so it's the same morph setting. Let's go back to our full range, and this is, I think, much more of just I'm not going to say typical reverb sound, but it's an example of how taking inspiration from these unique algorithms or pedals or whatever out there, doing my own version of them, and then finding variations on that can lead to some really nice things. So this is more of a, in quotation marks, normal reverb, but a very nice conclusion to this little set as it stands so far. So, here we go. Just a very nice, big, diffuse reverb. Yeah, I mean, I could even see that being a really nice fade in there. It does seem like we have the dry signal completely out there, which was not the case for the previous morph setting. But let's have a listen to those low samples, and we'll put the morph in there too. We can also do kind of a swell with it as well. Let's see. Yeah. Lovely stuff. I love that rumbliness that we get with that filter all the way down, essentially like using the filter to make some sound. Like the filter cue we chose very carefully in order to get the right amount of kind of like vibration from the notes that we wanted. Okay, let's skip through the full range and see what comes our way. That's just lovely the way it diffuses there. I think that brings us to the end of our experimentation so far. And a couple of thoughts, other than reiterating how much fun that was to work up over the last couple of days. And I think that the main one among them is that this gives me some great ideas for how to move forwards with stuff that is more on the ambient side of things. That diffuse algorithm, I think, could very well be used to create some interesting oceanic sounds. I mean, again, drawing inspiration from the polyverbs pedal, some rain sounds perhaps. Another one from the polyverbs pedal that we have toyed around with trying to imitate somehow is a slinky, which I think would again be one of those where I would want an LFO on the, like an envelope controlled LFO on the speed, which is of course not possible, but one can dream, you know. The other thing is that the using that filter as we did in that last setting, I think would work very nice with the kind of sustain envy oriented, more kind of like drone doom guitar imitative presets that we had going before. I'm going to resist diving into that now, but the idea of having something where it's pushing against a filter like that and there's also some heavy drive involved is a very exciting one. So and again, this is in the context of having perhaps another reverb after this, which we are currently waiting to arrive for us. Well, I hope this has been as interesting and enjoyable for you as it has been for us. Very glad to be sharing these ideas, and hope that they also provide some inspiration for you, perhaps. Until next time, be well.